Scott for Scots here. Do you hear that? Bring the mic in close. That's not how the grass should sound. There's weeds everywhere in this lawn. It's time to take action with Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action. It gets 3 jobs done at once. Kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and feeds your lawn so it keeps growing strong. Ah, much better.
Get a bag of Scott's Triple Action today. It's guaranteed, or your money back.
Feed your lawn. Feed it.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the greatest, but let me play devil's advocate here. Let's see. So, no, that's a good thing. That's definitely not a problem. Reese's, you did it. You stumped this charming devil.
Vikings ship. This is Purple Mafia. It is episode number 8 on the 20th of August in the year of our Lord 2008. And we have a good show for you today once again, as we hope to bring you great shows all the time. Now, we are available on thesportstuff.com and also on iTunes, and I thank each and every one of you for listening and or downloading. It is a pleasure to bring this to you. Now, on today's show, in episode 8, we are going to talk about the Viking game, in which the Vikings, in the preseason game number 2, defeated the Baltimore Ravens 23-15 in Baltimore. So, good news there. Not that wins and losses really count, but I like some things I saw, not everything. But we'll get into that very shortly. As quickly here, as I said, we are available on thesportstuff.com, and of course, without them, there is no Purple Mafia. On thesportstuff.com, there is a message board. Now go to the website, and on the upper right-hand corner, there is a TSS Boards button. Simply click on it, and you will be able to get a screen name and sign on and become a member of thesportstuff.com, as we have right about 200 members. And we would like to have many, many more. We'd like to have all of you on board, as it's more than worth it. Simply you can interact with us podcasters and, of course, other members. And it is 100% free and 100% fun. And it'd be a pleasure to have you on board, as I said. Now, again, we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about some stats. We're going to talk about some things I saw and that some of you may have seen as well. And after that, we're going to also get into some certain players that I've been paying attention to, especially on that game. I was monitoring them and like what I saw from them. There's about 4 of them that I'm going to bring up in the segment after the game segment. And then, of course, we're going to get into the poll results and the new poll in the final segment of this show. Now, with that, we are going to get into the nitty-gritty and right after this announcement.
What's up, listeners? This is Farzine. I am the host of the Chiefs End Zone Show right here on thesportstuff.com, where we cover the Kansas City Chiefs, give our opinions, and go deep inside with the Kansas City Chiefs right here only on thesportstuff.com. We encourage you Chiefs fans, you loud Chiefs fans out there, to get on the show, voice your opinions, get on our boards, and talk with us. All listeners, including Bronco fans, are allowed in our show. So be sure you check out the Chiefs End Zone Show right here on thesportstuff.com with me, your host, Farzine.
And I'd like to welcome you back to the Vikings ship, Purple Mafia. Purple Mafia, of course, episode number 8. And, of course, there was a game on Saturday, and I was able to watch the entire game. Yes, the entire game. And, it was a preseason game, but, there's some cool things to watch, and later on you get to see certain players, see what they're doing, certain draft picks, maybe some undrafted guys. We're going to get into some of that stuff shortly. But, you also want to know how your starters are going to do, right? Especially a guy by the name of Tarvaras Jackson. Yes, and I really liked the way this game started out for the Vikings, at least on the offensive end. Is Tarvaras Jackson looks the part, folks. He looks like a starting quarterback in the National Football League right now for the second week in a row. As, of course, he hit 7 of 11. Good for 63%, 82 yards, and a nice 23-yard pass to Martin Nance, number 15 Martin Nance, who I'll be talking about later. Now, that was the good part. But after that, my God, you know how they talk about the strength of this team is the defensive line and, of course, the strength of all strengths, the rushing defense, right? Well, a guy by the name of Ray Rice, who, by the way, looks like a pretty good player, coming out, I believe he was a second-round pick by the Baltimore Ravens, but he ran right through the defensive line. I mean, he made the Vikings defensive line look like garbage. And when you look at these numbers, now 8 rushes for 77 yards and, of course, a touchdown, a long of 42, and an average of 9.6 yards per carry. Alrighty then, that's not too good, is it? So the rush defense struggling a little bit early on, especially on the very opening drive of the game, as both teams scored in the opening drive of the game, as Ray Rice, as I mentioned, got a 6-yard touchdown run. Of course, Matt Stover kicking the extra point. We're happy for you. But, I should hope they're going to make them. But, I was a little disappointed with the defensive line in this game until things kind of got later in the game when they settled down. And thankfully, things did settle down pretty quickly after that, as that was it for the Ravens until late in the fourth quarter. So, all right, things happened there. But I don't know. I just didn't like that. I hope that was just a bad start and things are okay. Of course, Baltimore only scoring 15 points in this game, and that's it. Of course, a 2-point conversion later on in the game. Guy by the name of Derek Barton. No, that was not the offense, by the way. Yeah, so the defense scoring for Baltimore. Derek Martin intercepting John David Booty, and they also converted a 2-point conversion, so that's why it's an odd number of 15. But yeah, now I got a little ahead of myself. Gus Frerotte also looked okay. He wasn't like unbelievably great. He was all right. 4 of 9, 44%. So that not too great. No. Bollinger pretty much the same, just more playing time. 7 of 15. The 46%. Oh goody. So nothing special there, but you got to remember you're going against the Baltimore Ravens, as they have a very good defensive team. I mean, just absolutely awesome. Obviously not the same team that won the Super Bowl in 2000, but they have some pieces still, some veterans, some young players that, when you have a good thing, you keep it going, right? So you hope the Vikings can do that on defense as well. And, we might be heading in that direction. John David Booty looked like crap. I mean, he really did. Pretty much I believe it was his first pass, he threw an interception for a touchdown. So that didn't look too good at all. Also, I mean, you got to remember it is his first game and all that good stuff, or not first game, his second game to ever play in the National Football League. But you also got to remember it is against backup players, so it's not like he's going against the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Raven defense, Because, if he was, boy, would we be in trouble. The only good thing about this is at least John David Booty has got some time to develop. And he is going to need it, folks. Boy, is he going to need it. He is definitely a third stringer, maybe even fourth stringer. Brooks Bollinger, not really helping himself all too specially for keeping a job. But I don't know if Booty is either, man. I really don't know. Remember the Vikings cut Tyler Thigpen last year when he was the guy who was he was the fourth quarterback. It was kind of him and Bollinger vying for the Bollinger I guess was the backup, and then you had Kelly Holcomb, and Holcomb kind of took over, so that's why Thigpen was gone. And Thigpen looks like a fun player on the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe someday he'll be a poor man's Rich Gannon. But that's pretty much. It wasn't the greatest game ever. Jared Allen though did get 2 sacks in this game, and that's very good news. I like that a lot. It was very nice to see Jared Allen kind of come through and get his couple of sacks here. As I'm always a little skeptical when a guy comes and has an explosive season. Now, I know Jared Allen had done it before, earlier in his career, that he'd done, double-digit sacks, but you just don't know, especially when you come to a new team, especially when it's the Vikings. How many times have we had a big-name guy come here and, and just kind of, But, Jared Allen looking all right. Grigsby also on the Vikings getting 2 sacks, and LaTroy Guion. I've been saying his name wrong forever, LaTroy Guion. It's really LaTroy Guion. He adds a sack. And, we'll be getting into that later, too. So, that's a guy I really like a lot. I really do. It's hard not to. The Ravens get 2 sacks in this game. Gordon and Zabowski getting sacks. So that's good for them, I guess. And, of course, the interception and touchdown by Derek Martin. No, not the former NBA point guard, just a defensive back for the Baltimore Ravens, and we're happy for him. I like what I saw from Aaron Young. Adrian Peterson looking okay. Jackson made some nice scrambles in the game. 2 of them. But, 2 of them for 22 yards, and that's nice. But, unfortunately, the second time he ran, and he did get a first down, but when he was hit on the tackle, he injured his knee. And not only was it bruised, but there is an MCL sprain. So it's most likely he is going to be out for the remainder of the preseason, as there are 2 games left, and they're just not going to mess around with him anymore. And you understand why. You got to hope that this isn't going to be a recurring theme with Tarvaras Jackson, just injury after injury after injury, because he did miss time last year, and believe it or not, the Vikings were better when Tarvaras Jackson was a starting quarterback. To me, it's plain as day right now, especially now, but because Jackson looks a lot better, man, he really does. But you lose the arm and you lose the mobility. You can make fun of Tarvaras Jackson all you want about the 4 interceptions against Detroit and, things like that, just dumb decisions, or he's just not ready to go yet, or he's not really accurate. Well, this year he's looking extremely accurate. And that's very exciting. But you can't make up the arm and the mobility. That really changes the dynamics of the game. And, of course, with a guy like Sidney Rice on this team, who I absolutely love, and Bernard Berrien, who did not participate in this game, by the way, did not participate for the Vikings. It really opens up things in the passing game when you have a guy like Jackson with his arm and his mobility. So now that he's finally starting to be more accurate, I like it. But you just got to hope and pray that this young man can stay healthy. You got to hope he's not please forgive me for using this name, please. You got to hope he's not going to be like a Michael Vick in terms of injuries, because he's kind of built like Michael Vick, fairly big and bulky, but kind of at the same time kind of lanky too. He's not a big linebacker like Dante Culpepper. Now, of course, Culpepper had his injury thing too, and scrambling quarterbacks like McNabb and such tend to get hurt because they're a little reckless at times. And you just hope for the best that T-Jack can stay healthy, as that's going to be a big thing for this team. As Farad in the past has been good for the Vikings, but of course Randy Moss is no longer here, and that was his by far number 1 target back in 2004. Bollinger's Bollinger, and Booty might be getting kicked in the booty out of here if he doesn't step it up just a little bit. I mean, my heavens, not liking what I'm seeing from him at all. I understand he's starting out, but man, he sucks. Okay, at least I'm being honest. Didn't really like what I saw from Maurice Hicks rushing wise, other than that little 4-yard thing he did. But 9 rushes and only 12 yards. Good for a 1.3 average. Yuck. Not good at all. Aaron Young, and now I finally am saying his name correctly. Looking not bad at all. Not bad at all. This guy, he leads the team in rushing again, and of course gets the most rushes. So you got to think the team must like him if they keep giving him reps. You got to think that. Along with a fellow by the name of Martin Nance, who led the team in receiving yards and receptions. Now, Sidney Rice tied him with 3 receptions, but Nance had 74 yards and a touchdown. Not bad at all, including a 32-yard catch in the game. Not the touchdown. The touchdown was a 23-yarder. But, this guy looks pretty good. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him, definitely. But, of course, it's just one of those issues. You just don't know how much spots are going to be available. And that's pretty much how this game stands at this point. Vikings accumulating 5 sacks in this game. A lot better than the 0 they had last week. So I'm very pleased with that. Antoine Winfield looking good. E.J. Henderson, good. I'm liking what I'm seeing for Marcus McCulley. I really am. Very happy with him. So, Sharper getting a couple of, or not got a couple, but he did get an interception in this game, and that was awesome. Liked what I saw there. That's the guy that's going to get him, definitely. But pretty much with that, that's pretty much your game stats of this game and your thoughts of the actual game. It's pretty much how things stand with this team right now. Not a bad game. Very solid. I'm very happy that the defensive line stood strong in this game after the awful start. They stood strong, and I did like what I saw after that. And with that, I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about some youngsters and some guys vying for positions. We'll be back. Here on the SportStuff.com, we're bursting in blue with Timberwolves Explosion. Timberwolves fans, your show has arrived at last as we bring in a new era with Al Jefferson, Kevin Love, and Mike Miller. We're available on the SportStuff.com and also available on iTunes. Download and listen to in-depth and detailed coverage of your favorite team. Show your true blue and join this explosion of Timberwolves basketball. Have returned here on Purple Mafia, and the commercial you just heard was my other podcast on the SportStuff.com. Well, I have 3 total. We'll get into the third one later. The second one, of course, Timberwolves Explosion, a fun show. I really enjoy doing that, as I hope some of you out there like basketball and like the Timberwolves. And if you do, check it out. You got some new uniforms here in Minnesota now with the Timberwolves. Definitely give those a look on Timberwolves.com. They look, they're better than the previous. But, that's for later, as that'll be the next episode 2 for Timberwolves Explosion. We'll be talking about that. Now, done with that topic, and on to the youngsters and guys vying for position on the Vikings team. And, I'm going to talk about 4 guys. Brandon Sumrall, not Summerall, but Sumrall, because, his name is just not spelled that way. Latroy Guyan, just love him. Martin Nance, and Aaron Young. So those are your 4 guys. First of all, we're going to open up with Brandon Sumrall, who looked pretty darn good. I really liked what I saw from this guy. And I got to think they got to at least give this guy some type of shot. They got to give him some type of shot, even if it's just on special teams. He might have a role there. Now, he is number 33, for those of you who are wondering who the heck this is that may have not seen the game. I like what I see from this guy. He's a defensive back. He got a really sweet interception. He make a nice one-handed grab in the air, just beautiful, and played some solid coverage in the game. And looked a lot like Darren Sharper on that interception. Darren Sharper also getting an interception, of course, as I mentioned. I believe that was Kyle Bowler was the quarterback at that time, and Troy Smith, the quarterback that young Sumrall was able to snag the ball from. But I really like what I see from this guy. As not only that interception, it was just a sweet play, but also on the kick coverage, now he was getting double-teamed. He was getting covered pretty good. Now that's got to mean he's a decent player if they're double-teaming him, the Baltimore Ravens. But not only that, he got right through the double-team and nailed the returner, the Baltimore returner, in his tracks. The guy caught the ball and was down immediately. Didn't even move. Didn't even make a step forward. Summerall put him on his butt, and I liked what I saw there. And, of course, with Heath Farwell being out for the year, there's got to be a spot open for a nice young player looking to get on the special teams at least. And, Brandon Summerall's got a shot, I think. Sumrall has got a legitimate shot at that. Now, here's another young guy, a 5th-round pick, number 98. That's the year I graduated. I'm sure certainly not the year this young man graduated. Latroy Guyan. I'm liking what I'm seeing from this guy early on. Now, I'm not saying he's the next Warren Sapp just yet, but he looks pretty solid. And remember how in a previous episode on Purple Mafia, I made a comment of how, well, this guy didn't really get many reps in college because he was a backup for a while, yet he still amassed 12.5 sacks. Just unbelievable. When you can get that many sacks in limited time, you're doing something right, especially if you're a defensive tackle. Now, if you're like a pass rushing specialist, like, a pass rushing specialist defensive end like KGB on the Green Bay Packers, well, yeah, you're going to rack up a certain amount of sacks, but this guy's a defensive tackle, and he's able to do it. As I loved what he did. He knocked Kyle Bowler so hard. He got right through the offensive line, hit Kyle Bowler so hard, he knocked the ball loose. Now, if you get a defensive tackle who can start knocking the ball loose, hey, that's going to start causing some turnovers, of course, and that's only spells really good things for the Vikings, of course. The more possession, the better, of course. Because what if Baltimore was on the 20-yard line and we recovered, our 20 or their 20, excuse me. That'd be some beautiful stuff. Beautiful. So definitely keep an eye on LaTroy Guyan in the next 2 games. I think this guy is going to be a factor later on in his career, if not later on this season. I like it. I like it, man. Now, number 15, Martin Nance. This guy is vying for a spot as he is looking really good. Looking really good with that 23-yard touchdown and those other catches. I really like what I see from this guy, but it may be almost impossible to make this roster. Now, it's not because the Vikings receiving core is great, but it's deep. It is deep. You got, of course, Bernard Berrien, who's the de facto number 1 right now. Sidney Rice, who may become the number 1, but is the number 2. Bobby Wade is the number 3 at this time because he's a solid guy who can catch. He's a slot receiver. Andre Ellison is an extremely talented but raw individual, as he's really young like Sidney, just not as, ready to go, I guess you could say. And I like what I see from Andre Ellison quite a bit, and I'm sure the Vikings do as well. So it's going to be tough to make that position. It really is. I wish him the best, Martin Nance, of course. I think he's going to, if he doesn't make it with his team, he's either going to at least be on the practice squad in case something goes wrong later in the year, somebody gets hurt, or, somebody out there is going to see him and he's going to wind up at someone's roster at some point. So this guy will play in the NFL. He will play Sundays, in my opinion, along with Brandon Summerall. Of course, LaTroy Guyan is going to be on the Vikings, hopefully for a while, because he's an actual draft pick. Summerall and Nance, not draft picks. Aaron Young, the 4th and final guy. I'm liking what I'm seeing from. As I said earlier, now he's, for the second week in a row, leading the team in rushing, along with the reps, averaging about 4 yards a carry, including a 21-yard scamper. Now, no touchdowns, but still, I like what I see from him. And at the very least, he could at least make special teams. Unfortunately, he'd be the 4th running back. That's kind of a tough deal right there. As Maurice Hicks is going to be here, being he signed a decent deal, unless for whatever reason they really think Aaron Young's better, and they, you never know. Maybe they will cut him, but I doubt it. Maurice Hicks is a very solid player. He's got a lot of shifty moves on the return, and I like what I see him at least there. He has a little bit of Mewelde Moore in him, and people that know me know I like Mewelde Moore quite a bit. I was impressed with him, and Steelers girl out there, you're gonna enjoy him on your squad. As he's of course a member of them now, because they needed a nice nice talented backup running back, and there he is. Who can do multiple things. Anybody that can do multiple things in this league, you gotta love him. You gotta love him. Somebody that can play the regular and special teams, regular game and special teams. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Of course, Heath Farwell would have been a really nice backup linebacker on this team this year, but not anymore. We're just going to have to see what happens as the Vikings scope the waiver wire. You never know. You never know. We'll see what happens. But with that, we are going to put an end to this segment, as I enjoyed it very much. I love watching these sleepers. I hope you do as well. And we'll be right back with a little talk about the polls on TSS. Here on the sportstuff.com, we're toughing up on Brave the Wild with Palladino. Join me, Palladino, as we brave the Minnesota Wild Hockey Club on our way to the playoffs. We're available on the sportstuff.com and iTunes. The boogeyman, Derek Bugard, says you'd better listen or he just might drop the gloves. Call up your courage and brave the Wild with your buddy, Palladino Joey. And we are back here on Purple Mafia and on the sportstuff.com and on iTunes, and there you go. But yeah, the show you just heard, Brave the Wild by Minnesota Wild Show. Hockey fans, we haven't forgotten about you. Do check out Brave the Wild, where we'll talk about the Minnesota Wild. And, will they sign Marian Gaborik? Well, we hope so. We hope so. Nothing breaking yet. But, yeah, that show has not officially debuted yet, but it will possibly this week. Of course, the reason why this Purple Mafia episode is fairly late, considering the football game was on Saturday, and I'm finally doing it here on Wednesday. Yeah, that's because I've had to work every night since, even though it's a little bit of a bummer. I thought I was going to be off Monday, but I wasn't. Go figure. I would have had this show up and ready, but that's how it goes. Heck, I even worked today quite a bit today. Just was able to get off at a reasonable time for a change. Now, enough of that, and we're back here ready to rock and roll. Now, this, of course, you iTunes listeners out there, this encourages you to get involved here on the sportstuff.com, as that is the slogan. Don't watch sports, get involved. As, there are polls here on the sportstuff.com boards. There is the podcast section. Click on Purple Mafia and make a vote. Now, the polls for last week, poll result from last week. Now, the question was, who wins the Super Bowl this year? I put for 6 choices, the New England Patriots, Indianapolis Colts, San Diego Chargers, Dallas Cowboys, your Minnesota Vikings, the New Orleans Saints, or other. So that was 7 choices, not 6. My bad. I never actually mentioned last week what my pick was, and that is the New England Patriots. I do believe they are going to get things together, despite all the Spygate talk, despite the fact that they choked against a 10-6 team in the Super Bowl. And I think the New England Patriots come back and win the World Championship this year. I do see them as a great football team. I am a strong Viking fan. In fact, I think this team has an outside shot to get all the way to the Super Bowl. But you got to be realistic. You got to be honest with yourself. If you're a big football fan, which I am, the New England Patriots to me are the best team in the world. A strong second choice for me, though, San Diego Chargers. They are a team on the rise, and I think they're going to win a championship in San Diego. They'll finally bring the city of San Diego a championship, which the Padres couldn't do, and of course, the hated, dreaded Los Angeles or San Diego Clippers at the time could not do either. Now, New England Patriots got 2 votes. Colts got 1 vote. Chargers got 2 votes. Nobody picking the Dallas Cowboys. Thank you for that. I'm very happy, as that is by far my least favorite team in that group. The Vikings got 1 vote, so we got a happy Viking fan here. Saints getting zip. I don't know why, but okay. And then the other got 2 picks. The other, but unfortunately, the people did not mention who they were taking. I'm guessing Steelers fans. It's got to be the Steelers, and I apologize for not putting them in there. I maybe should have put the Steelers instead of the Saints, as they're another good team. But I figure put 3 from each conference, the top 3 teams from each conference. To me, the Steelers are not in the top 3, and I apologize for that, but that's how I see it, guys. I do see the Vikings in the top 3. And before I get into the next poll, we're going to have some talk here. Crunks the Ruler, 87, his pick, he says, I picked the Colts because I think the Patriots might not be as good this year and not have the chemistry like last year. Here's my quote. I personally picked the favorites. I see them recovering from last year's heartbreak and coming back with a vengeance. 14-2 in Super Bowl number 4. Yep. Now, Farzine, the host of the Chiefs End Zone Show, the commercial you heard earlier, and Casey Boom, his quote is, Chargers and Cowboys will be in the Super Bowl. They both have playmakers in a lot of positions. Both offenses are very close. I'll tip the Cowboys as a better offense since Tony Romo is a better quarterback than Rivers. Sure, agreed. And Felix Jones will come through for that team. Oh, I hope so. Felix Jones is on my fantasy team. But yeah, hush hush on that. But I think that the Bolts defense, with the Bolts defense, they can give Romo a hard time. Change of heart, but I say the Chargers win it all this year. Not a bad pick for Gene. That's my second choice. I may even change my mind at some point. But, we're all free to change our mind, right? But, that's the end of the quotes for this puppy at this point in time. Very good thoughts, Farzine. Always love hearing from you. And, maybe we'll, hopefully have Farzine on the show at some point. That'd be fantastic, as that guy does a great job. He's got a voice for radio, and, yeah. Now, with that, the new poll, and I want you to get involved and vote. Those of you that do not have a screen name yet on thesportstuff.com, please sign up for the message boards and get on here and vote. Remember, it's thesportstuff.com boards, then the podcast section, and Purple Mafia. So please do get on here and vote. The question is, what will the Vikings record be this year? The 6 choices are 12-4 or better, 11-5, 10-6, 9-7, 8-8, 7-9, or worse. So, that pretty much covers all the bases right there, as I do believe their Vikings' future record this year is already up there. It's not going to be better or worse. I'm going with 11-5. I can see them doing that in a division title. So, kind of similar to maybe the 2000 season, something like that, when they were 11-5. Hopefully not a 41 donut game against the New York Giants again, or the Cowboys or something. Let's hope that doesn't happen again. With defense like this, though, I doubt it. And with a guy like Peterson, I doubt it. But, that's how I see it at this point in time. And, I'd love to hear from you. Definitely put a quote on there. And it looks like some quotes are up there already, but I'm going to save them for next week's show because it just makes it better to have it all together, not split up. And again, I thank all of you for listening to this show and downloading. I thank those of you that did vote and did comment on here. All of you on thesportstuff.com, thank you very much. It is a pleasure. Definitely get involved and join us. Join the show. Keep being a part of things. It just makes things funner. And, it makes it more interesting for the listener as well, because it's not just me talking all the time. Now, with that, I want to thank you all for listening. Again, I apologize that the show is about, 2 days later than I wanted it to be, but work is work, and that's what we got to do. We're not making $40 million a year just yet, so maybe someday. I just want to wish you all a good week. Do check out the Vikings game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That should be a fun one. Max and Steelers Girls Club. So we'll see what happens in that game. A little Meweldy Moore, probably a little Meweldy Moore talk, maybe. Nothing major, though. He's not exactly a big superstar. But with that, we're going to call this a show, and we're going to talk to you soon. And I want to wish you a great week, and we'll see you soon. Take care.